Hello, Bruce Timm again.
James Tucker.
Glen Murakami.
Dan Riba.
And Rich Fogel.
We were just talking before we started here about the title, The Savage Time, and we had a couple different episode titles for this, but what I like about The Savage Time is that, well, first of all, I like titles that have more than one meaning, and it's literally, this is a kind of a savage time period they're going into, and then of course it's, you know, the time period that's ruled by Vandal Savage, so that's kind of a pun, but, and also what I really like about it is that it sounds like an old school Star Trek episode. It really does, you know, it's like, I love Star Trek episodes, they have the best titles. Anytime we can do a Star Trek-y kind of title, it's all good. So Savage Time, Part 2. The reason we chose this episode is it has some of our favorite bits as comic book geeks, besides Hitler and a popsicle, which is cool.
Isn't that the actual drawing? That's the actual painting, right?
My marker comp.
Yeah.
But this show is just geek nirvana for us because it's got the Blackhawks in it and the Sgt Rock.
I remember talking with Dan about this early on, and he was just like rubbing his hands together every time we talked about doing it.
So another one of the reasons why we like this episode so much is, you know, I mean, comic books actually came into their first big burst of popularity in World War II. People don't realize that now, but comic books really took off. I mean, a lot of the overseas soldiers, you know, they would, you know, they went into battle with, you know, copies of Captain Marvel and Superman rolled up in their backpacks. And I always had a fondness of superhero stories that took place in World War II. And so when the time came to plot out our big season finale, we talked about, well, what kind of big stunt can we do that's like a big 3-part episode, and the subject of time travel came up. And, you know, we love time travel stories, but at the same time we hate them because they're really hard to plot without creating all kinds of paradoxes, and we didn't do too bad in this one. There's a couple glaring holes, but not too bad. But at the same time, we really like doing time travel stories. They're fun. This is cool. This is our chance to do the invasion of Normandy again. Obviously, we couldn't get as realistic as, you know, say, Private Ryan. This is a big, complicated challenge for us back then. Again, you know, this is the kind of show that we probably wouldn't blink at twice nowadays because we routinely do big-scale action-adventure sequences like this nowadays. But back then, this was like, you know, boy, I can't even believe we even attempted it. This is something that we wouldn't even have gone near when we were doing the Batman and Superman shows.
Yeah.
You know,
Plus,
the very thought of doing D-Day in a cartoon is insane.
And they may not have let us either. I mean,
That's true, too.
They definitely wouldn't have.
That's true.
Just the amount of extras and extra characters we've had to design for these sequences.
Here come the
Great
Stukas.
scene.
It's awesome.
Great.
Or those Messerschmitts. I can never remember. Which is going to kill me. Anyhow. So GL here is his battery's out of juice, and so he's being toyed with by the guy on the war wheel. Those evil Nazis.
Oh, the war wheel. That was another reason why we wanted to do this.
Oh yeah, war wheels are cool.
Oh, yeah.
Bruce insisted on the war wheel.
Those are from the old Blackhawk comics.
Yeah.
You know, I think we did a really good job. We did a lot of research into European locations and stuff for this episode. I mean, a lot of the stuff, you know, you may think is just, oh, well, you know, we're just making all this stuff up. But Butch Lukic, who directed Part 1, is a huge World War I buff.
Too.
And he's got, and you too? Okay, well, I know you're the
World War
golden
II.
age comic book
World
geek.
War
Excuse me,
II.
did I say World War I? They're all the same. One World War is the same as the next.
Germans.
But anyhow, I remember Butch especially brought in tons of books and reference on, you know, military stuff and, you know, locations and things. So
Actual uniforms and everything.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
the whole reason he did the show, he always said.
Oh, I know.
He
said
wanted to do Sgt Rock.
That's all he wanted to do. He said,
Right.
as long as I get to do Sergeant Rock, I don't care.
Now, he boarded all the scenes of Sgt Rock in this episode,
Yep.
even though, well, it's not his show.
Right.
Okay, this time all bets are off.
Is this Adam Van Wyck's?
This is the
Yes,
Adam
yes.
Van Wyck aerial battle, which, as usual, was like 5 times too long. We cut it down to a manageable length, but at the same time, we were looking at it on the storyboard and going, I hope half of this stuff works.
Right.
And we knew that we would be able to mess around with it a lot in editing, so we actually You know, a lot of the stuff, there was just so much chaos. We were looking at it on the storyboard going, I can't even tell what's happening here. Let's just send it off to Korea and see what comes back. Fortunately, most of it worked. But strangely enough, when we did edit this sequence in the editing, there's almost...
Oh, the Blackhawk theme.
I love the Blackhawk theme. Half of the shots in this show, or in this sequence, aren't where they originally were. We messed around with this sequence. I think Joe Gall and I spent like an entire day editing just this aerial battle, which is... Usually we can edit an entire show in a day. But again, comic book fans don't know these days, but the Blackhawks were huge back in World War II. They were one of the most popular comics back then. Another one of the cool things about the Blackhawks was they actually had their own theme song. Now, this isn't it exactly, but there actually was a published version of the Blackhawk theme. And even though this is not the music of the Blackhawk theme, we did give a copy of the lyrics to Lolita Ritmanis so that if you want to, if you can find a copy of the Blackhawk theme, the lyrics, I think it's actually in the Blackhawk archives, you can actually sing along. Those words will go with this tune. So that's just a little tidbit for you. Nowadays, if we had done this sequence, we would probably do all those planes CGI, but this is one of the things that worried us about doing this episode is, you know, this could have been a nightmare. If we didn't get good animation on those planes, this sequence would have been just a disaster. But whoever animated all these planes, you could tell they really enjoyed animating the planes because they did a great job.
Well, we sent them a model that you built.
That you bought. You actually, it's the Grumman Skyrocket, right?
Yeah.
Dueling Geeks.
Yeah, and we actually bought an actual model kit of the Blackhawk plane, and which is based on an actual airplane that actually exists. And I put it together in my office with my little tube of glue, and we shipped it to Korea and said, "Here, if you guys have a hard time drawing that plane, this is how it moves in 3D."
Did you guys ever get it back?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yep, they shipped it back, and I think only one little thing broke off on it, right?
Thanks for the lift, Angel. I can take it from here.
If your mission's as
And this is an
important-
example of the Bee Gees being too bright. This is a problem we dealt with all season long on season 1, is the background painters would watch the shows and say, gosh, you know, that doesn't look anything like my background. Why does it look so bright? And the problem was it was literally a technical problem with the way our computers were calibrated. At this point, we were still painting a lot of our backgrounds with traditional paint. We would actually paint a background, scan it into the computer, and then send a digital file overseas. The problem was their computers were calibrated differently than ours, so they were actually reading the backgrounds in Korea as if the Bee Gees were much brighter than they actually were. So that was something we, through a lot of trial and error, found out that was the problem. So we have a standing order now in the office that the computers are calibrated every 2 weeks, because if you don't, they will just eventually go out of true. So we constantly have to stay up on it. So these Bee Gees are actually supposed to be much darker, much more vivid. The colors are much more vivid, and the contrasts are much darker. But the show still looks good, but just one of those things, trial and error.
I couldn't find GL anywhere. I still can't believe you left him behind.
This is a good bit too. Now again, you know, we always talk about Hawk Girl and Green Lantern. You know how we kind of we're kind of pussyfooting around their growing attraction throughout season 1. This was a big, important part of their relationship. The fact that she had to leave him behind. Yeah, the unknown soldier. That's right. We had to leave GL behind on the battlefield, and Hawkgirl feels kind of bad about it. But even though she's trying to be tough, but you hear the Blackhawk theme again here, kind of slow and moody. I love this score. I mean, it's just cool. Come on, how can you not love the Blackhawks? They're cool. And Robert Picardo, one of our utility players, we've worked with him a lot since Batman the Animated Series. I think he's been in all of our series in one form or another. He's played a bunch of different parts in Justice League. And that's him as the lead Blackhawk himself. I remember we argued about whether Blackhawk would have white gloves or not.
They're cool. Yeah, I remember that too. No, I remember.
I looked at the model sheet and went, "Why is he wearing these silly white gloves? They look wimpy." And James and Dan argued with me. It's like, no, that's what he's got in the comics. He's got to have the white gloves. And I eventually said, okay, fine.
In the comic books, there's a lot more Blackhawks, and we had to decide which ones we were going to narrow it down to put in here, because otherwise it would have just been too much.
I love that scene. That scene's got a lot of depth and dimension to it. That's really nice for a bombed-out European city. But But yeah, you're right. We did had to narrow down how many Blackhawks. And in fact, I think only one of them speaks besides Blackhawk. I think Andre is the only one who actually says anything.
Well, and,
Vive la liberté.
what's his? I don't know.
Yeah, the introduction of the Easy Company.
What if he's a spy?
Ted Levine, another one of the guys who's worked with us a lot. In fact, we just recorded him on an episode of Justice League Unlimited earlier today. Fred Dreyer as Sgt Rock. We had a decision to make here about their clothes. In the comics, they had a limited palette, so they always kind of just colored them straight up and down this drab green. And Butch Lukic kept pushing to actually use real military colors, which we could create in our digital palette, so we opted to go that way. I kind of wish we had done them just in the straight comic book green up and down, but whatever. Makes Butch happy. It does look good. No, it looks more authentic. It doesn't look less. It doesn't look comic book.
Yeah.
No, it looks really good.
Nice animation too.
Yeah.
And I tried really hard to make those guys look like Russ Heath drawings, but it's really hard.
A little too much Kirby in you.
Well, I have to say the model sheets looked very Russ Heath-like, but it's just Russ Heath doesn't really translate to animation very well. There's too many subtleties in his drawings. His stuff is very realistic. Oh, here's the old Nazi torture scene.
Obligatory.
I love Phil Morris as Vandal Savage, and I love his theme. The theme with the male choir. It's really cool. But yeah, Phil Morris, he was a guy who came in and he first worked for us on Brave and the Bold. He played the guerrilla general, and we just loved his voice. We thought, wow, this guy's got the most awesome voice. We got to bring him back as a major villain. And so when we were talking about Vandal Savage, he was the first guy I thought of, and he was available. And it turns out he's a big comic book fan too. He actually knew about Vandal Savage. He came in talking about, oh yeah, this is the guy who was a caveman and got hit in the head with a meteor. And it's like, whoa, he actually knows this stuff. So that was cool.
I remember some of his readings just gave me chills. He was so cool in it.
He's awesome. He's really good. And I think his best performance is Vandal Savage is in Hereafter.
Yeah.
I mean, we get to play
awesome.
Crazy Vandal.
He's kind of gone a little off the deep end, but he's great here too. Just as he's kind of a cardboard villain. He's kind of a mustache twirling villain, but he's so good. He completely sells it. We were worried that his visual would look a little too much like Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't at all.
No, he doesn't really.
No.
He made his brow so much more prominent,
more
so
broad.
He does look.
I was trying to make him look like a caveman.
It's a suave caveman.
Yeah, kind of. I was also looking at Gene Colan's Tomb of Dracula comics.
Oh, yeah.
I always loved that kind of Jack Palance looking Dracula that Gene Colan used to draw. But yeah, he does look like a suave caveman. He definitely has. Well, I guess he's a Cro-Magnon man. I guess he's not a Neanderthal. But yeah, he's really good.
How can I not succeed? I've seen your future. It doesn't work. Indeed.
And then Michael Rosenbaum gets to play the Nazi torturer guy. Everybody got to play silly Nazis in this show. Because, again, this show just had such a huge cast in it, and we're limited to how many voice actors we can have in the show just for budgetary reasons. So everybody had to play double and triple duty. So everybody got a chance to play, use silly German accents.
Yeah, we got to hear everybody's accent.
Has anyone ever held anything back from
Patrick
me?
Duffy did a really good one too.
Which one was Patrick Duffy? Which German did he play?
That's
a good
probably
shot.
already heard him already, but
I don't remember which one he was. I remember most of them. Fred Dreyer is the guy in part 3 that's like, the damage has been fixed, mein Führer, on the plane. Wonder Woman's big first kiss scene. It was a neat scene.
Caviar?
Well, going back into the World War II time, again, it seemed like a natural to get Steve Trevor in there and hook him up with Wonder Woman.
Sure. Well, this is actually right out of the original Wonder Woman comics. I mean, he was a flyer, right, in the original comics.
And we made him blonde.
right.
And in fact, I don't think they'd been using him in the comics for a long time. I think he'd kind of served his purpose, up until but he was still a part of the comics up until like the 70s, and eventually he became like kind of irrelevant after a while. So this is a really good way of bringing him back in. So yeah, he's kind of based on visually. He's kind of a Frank Robbins or Milton Caniff kind of.
Didn't James do
Steve
it?
Canyon.
Steve Canyon, yeah.
Yeah. Well.
I think you did.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I did.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
I know.
Yeah, they were going to drink
Something
wine.
interrupt us. Yeah.
Wow.
You are completely surrounded. There is no escape.
And that's Robert Picardo as the silly German.
Right.
must have caught Ernst.
And he betrayed you?
Don't blame him, Angel. He's just a civilian. This is what they want.
Here comes her big first
it doesn't
kiss.
fall into their hands.
What about you?
I'll create a distraction.
But
It's not expecting it, but I think
It's
she
no,
likes it.
That's pretty nice.
What's that?
We don't have that on Themyscira.
That or iced mochas.
Right.
Brett Blevins boarded on.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Brett Blevins.
There he is. Get him.
I remember when we got this show back, we so loved the period feel of it
Right.
that James and I were sitting there going, yeah, I just want to do,
This
nothing but
show.
World War II adventures from now on.
Right.
And especially the stuff later on where Jean's like in disguise as the torturer running around like the big, Nazi castle and stuff. It's like, it's just, you got to love that time period. And it's like, I know World War II was a horrible thing, the greatest generation and all that, but
But in terms of like popular media and stuff like that, you think of the great Hollywood movies that came out then,
Absolutely.
and the comic books and everything like that. That it just has a certain look and feel to it. That
absolutely.
I say this is where Wonder Woman first uses her magic lasso, only she doesn't know it.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, we
Yeah.
did kind of play it. We played it fast and loose. We didn't say specifically whether she was using it or not
Right.
there.
Well, later on we say she didn't know how to use it.
Right.
She didn't know she was making someone tell
Right.
the truth. But
Oh, that was Fred Dreyer. Jawohl. That was Fred Dreyer. That's his silly Nazi. I need my special tools. Actually, you know what? Maybe that wasn't Fred Dreyer. That might have been Dave Thomas. I can't remember anymore. But yeah, look at that. That just the scale of that. The big Albert Speer kind of design.
The old Führer was a little crazy, but at least he had more respect for his generals.
Oh, Black Hawk Island. Here we come to Black Hawk Island. Another one of my favorite bits. I know, I'm just such a geek. It's painful. Again, lovely score here. I love the reveal of Black Hawk Island, and the last shot when they fly towards it is really pretty too. So, I mean, we didn't have too many moments of real visual poetry in that first season, but that's one of them. That's gorgeous. It's really nice. Now, every now and then we could really pull off something like that. It's very cool. Now, did we actually have reference for the ground of Black Hawk Island? I know we had shots of the down shot of it from the comics, but I don't remember what it looked like on the ground. I don't remember if it had hangars and stuff.
No, we made that up.
Oh, okay.
I've seen shots with hangers in some of the comics, but yeah, we came pretty close if we were making it up.
Yeah, well, even the aerial shot is an amalgam of.
Well, what's funny
It
is
kept
that
changing in the
when we
comics.
were making these shows, the internet wasn't what it is now.
Right.
We didn't have Google, and now you can look up anything.
But I remember, though, what was really convenient for us was the first volume of Black Hawk Archives
Right,
came out right when we were doing this
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
So we actually had like the first 10 issues of Black Hawks in hardcover. So that was an invaluable tool. I mean, I had all the Reed Crandall stuff right there. I didn't have to go digging for my rare reprints and stuff. I mean, that was just really good timing. And the guns even sound right. I mean, it's like a big old BAR. It's cool. And the Tommy guns.
Suspense. Wait. Now, did he get really shot or?
Kind of. I mean,
Grazed?
we always have tough times with gunshot wounds and stuff. It's like, yeah, he kind of got nicked.
He got nicked
That's a
too,
great
I
shot.
assume.
Oh, that guy, yeah. No, I'm sorry. John put a bullet right in his head.
The bullet didn't get him. The fall did.
That's the idea.
That's right. I mean, if we'd shown him on the ground, we would have had to have given a keep alive groan. But
Right.
fortunately, we cut away, so we don't know what happened to him. I think Fred Dreyer is perfect casting as Sgt. Rock. He's exactly the right type.
That was a funny walk.
Bunny walk?
Kind of bounces off.
Who? Bulldozer?
Yeah.
Ruined.
That should have been shattered. He could fix that.
Prisoner overpowered the guard and escaped.
He knows too much. We'll have to move up the invasion. Send out the signal immediately. Begin
Yeah, Stan
Operation
Berkowitz
Vandal.
had a lot of fun working on this one. He really got into the whole World War II thing.
Yeah.
just learned that one of our coded communicators is missing.
Yeah, see, that's what's good about Phil Morris is like his performance is really suave, but it's like, yeah, he gets savage, like, I mean, literally savage, like, why not? It's like, he's great. That poor guy, he gets slapped around the whole 3-parter.
Yeah, that's the second time, right? Or
Yeah, he got
zapped
in part
before,
1.
didn't
Yeah,
he?
that's right. He zapped him in part 1.
Do you think he was telling the truth?
I can be very persuasive.
You know, people gave us a hard time on the internet about him hitting the guy in the head with the German hand grenade. Don't you know that could go off in your hand? Somebody told me you couldn't do that. It wouldn't work that way, so that's why we ended up doing it. But I'm not sure whether it would do that or not.
We didn't test it in the office.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming they're running around and jumping in foxholes and stuff with those things and not setting them off. So I'm assuming you have to prime it first. So I don't know.
I think you have to
Right.
pump it like.
Mm-hmm. But it's probably not the smartest thing to use as a club.
He's just kissed an Amazon. He hasn't anything else left to live for. He's done it all.
Hang on, I'll cut you loose.
You shouldn't have come here.
You can thank me later.
No, you don't understand. Look.
Dave Thomas.
He was so cool.
I love Dave Thomas. Yeah, we had actually worked with him on the Night of Shadows episode where he played the Hugh Hefner-esque guy. And again, he was just such a delight to work with that when we came to cast this episode, it's like, well, maybe Dave could do a German accent. So
I think I remembered he did a really good Laurence Olivier with a German accent.
Oh, from Boys from Brazil?
Yeah.
He used to parody that on.
Yeah. Anyhow, that's it.
Okay.
Fun show. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.